What would happen if the people of God started handling money God's ways? You work too hard to get to the end of your life and have nothing to show for it.
This is my family's legacy that I'm talking about here. I've got to have a plan and be focused.
That knowledge that you pass down to your kids, that is how you change a family tree.
You change your life when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And you have that moment where you say, I've had it. I am not going to live like this anymore.
Good morning. Is that loud enough? It's on. Red button's on. Okay. I haven't moved it, so. Is that a little bit better? Okay. Oh. Alrighty, Monday the 14th at 6:30, Diaconate has been canceled because most everybody can't come. So we'll just, I'll get all the paperwork to everybody next Sunday, and then that way, if there's a question, somebody just ask, and we'll go from there. Of course, then Tuesday the 15th at 10:30 is the food delivery. And then Wednesday, the 16th, from 8:30 to 11:30, we had the food distribution. We really need all hands on deck. Darlene's brother and sister-in-law and a niece is coming to help. So Tim can't be there, so we're going to get through, hopefully. So Gary will be in charge inside. Darlene and Gary. Okay, Darlene and Gary. So he gets bad, Darlene, you can smack him.
John, can you unmute me? Let's see if this works. Wow, Stacy did really good with this thing, didn't she? I haven't heard that in a long time. Oh, there's people walking in. I'll wait. I don't know who they... Hello. Morning. It's been an interesting morning so far, so it's going to get bright. I forgot to do it, so... Wow. Those are at 100%, yes. Turn it back down, turn it back down. Okay, let's go ahead and stand for the call to worship, please. The dust that shapes the journey, the cross that guides it, the color that surrounds it, the light that fades through it, the word that foretells it, the wilderness that invites it. This is Lent, and into the wilderness, God calls us. Brothers and sisters, Christ is heading for Jerusalem. Have a seat. Yeah. What do you mean it's not streaming? This one? Unfortunately, the Yelsies are not here today. Mike is quarantining. So is Lizzie. And Donna Lou is with her parents. Yes, that is exactly. This, the words will still be on the screen, but since I can't sing, I'm not going to torture any of you. So, if you want to turn to your hymnal, it is 4:30. But again, the words will be up there. I tried. All right. The next one will be number 643. Oh, Lord, you're beautiful. Jonathan. Jonathan. There we go. You stand for the Lord's Prayer, please. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Have a seat. Let me know when you're ready, Bonnie. Oh, ready already? Okay. All right. Prayer concerns. Right. Any others? No? Okay. Okay. All right. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to come together and worship you. We ask that you watch over us, our community, and those that we pray for. It's in your name we pray. Amen. Hear our prayers, O Lord. Nope. Hey, girls, come on. Are you not coming up today? Oh, they're both back there. Come on. Come on. Actually, you know what? How about you sit right here? Well, you're going to need to because you got to watch the screen. You're going to sit there. Okay.
The Bible tells stories about prophets. A prophet is someone who shares God's message with his people. They remind people to follow and obey God. One of the most famous prophets was a man named Elijah. Elijah was courageous and bold. There was an evil king named Ahab who wanted people to worship an idol named Baal instead of God. Elijah knew this was wrong, so he invited the king and everyone who worshipped Baal to the top of Mount Carmel. Elijah said,
"How long are you going to worship this false idol and ignore God?"
No one answered him. So Elijah set up a challenge, a contest to see who could actually answer prayers, Baal or God. They built 2 altars, one for Baal and one for God. Elijah set some ground rules.
"We'll put wood and a bull on the altars and pray for a fire to start. Now, there are only 450 of you and only one of me. Well, we'll see who actually gets a response."
So the men who followed Baal prayed for flames. They yelled at the sky all morning. They jumped, they danced, but by noon no fire had started.
"I guess Baal must be sleeping. Or maybe he's just in the bathroom."
This made them yell louder and louder until sunset. But still no fire appeared on the altar. When it was clear that their prayers were unheard and unanswered by Baal, Elijah said,
"Come closer. Watch this."
Elijah surrounded the altar he built for God with 12 stones. He dug a trench around it. Then he did something truly courageous. Because he believed in God's promise to answer prayer, Elijah poured water all over the altar. 4 full jugs of water. Then he did it again, and again, and again, until the wood was soaked and the trench was filled with water. Then Elijah prayed. He asked God to show everyone his power, and God did. God's fire fell. It not only burnt up all the wet wood and bull, but also the stones and the dust, and dried up all the water in the trench. God made fire destroy everything to answer Elijah's bold prayer. When all the people saw this, they immediately worshiped God. Elijah had the courage to pray big prayers because he knew God would keep his promises. God wants us to pray like that because we can count on him too.
Okay, now do you want to go sit up there? You want to sit there? You want me to sit up there? Oh, okay. Are you going to sit up here with me? Or are you going to sit there? Why are you being so rotten today? Huh? Okay. So what did we learn in the video? That you need to worship God, okay? And sometimes, even when we don't think that we can do what we want to do, we know that God can do it for us, right? Okay. So in the video, Elijah put water all over the rocks and all over the wood and everything like that, right? And what happened? It started a fire. Now, we don't go camping ever because Mommy's idea of camping is literally the Holiday Inn. And I'm not kidding. But when you go outside and it's wet, do you think it'd be easy to catch something on fire? No? Okay. Yes. Well, why would it be easy? Grab wood and then the rock. Okay. Just 2 rocks? Okay, well, I'll agree with that. If you use flint, you can do that. Apparently, you're watching way more advanced TV shows than I thought you were. So, okay. So, what did we hear about at the end of the video? We have to pray big prayers, right? So what's a big prayer? Prayer that you do? A prayer that you know you need God's help with? Okay. All right. You're not into this morning, are you? No. Yeah. Kind of figured. All right. Well, here's my bribe stuff for the day. Mommy can open it for you. I have more. In there. I even went as far as getting gum for these two. I gotta pay him for helping somehow. All right, let's see. This should have a bumper video, right? Okay, go ahead and play that, please. Oh, if you could you stand up? We're gonna sing another song. I totally forgot about this one.
All these pieces broken and scattered, in mercy gathered, mended and whole, empty-handed but not forsaken. I've been set free, I've been set free. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Ooh, I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Oh, I can see now. Oh, I can see the love in your eyes, laying yourself down, raising up the broken to life. You take our failure, you take our weakness, you set your treasure in jars of clay. So take this heart, Lord, I'll be your vessel, the world to see your life in me. Oh, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Ooh, I once was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see. Oh, I can see it now. Oh, I can see the love in your eyes, laying yourself down, raising up the broken to life. can see it now. Oh, I can see the love in your eyes, laying yourself down, raising up the broken to life. Oh, I can see it now. Oh, I can see the love in your eyes, laying yourself down, raising up the broken to life. Oh, I can see it now. Oh, I can see the love in your eyes, laying yourself down, raising up the broken to life.
Go ahead and have a seat. So once again, technical difficulties. Sorry. They upgraded the program that I use, and they changed things. So, gotta love that. Good morning. My name's Tim. I'm the pastor here. Welcome. I've been here for 7 months, 8 months, something like that. This is my first time being a pastor, so please bear with me. Let's see. Anything else? No? Oh, okay. Are we doing bios? Okay. I have 6 children, 4 with my wife. One's back, well, 2 of them back there, one's over here, and the littlest one's in here. So, yeah, 2 are in Florida with their mother. Oh. Yeah, I have the nice wife, you have Gary. Yeah. So we have a weird dynamic of we pick on each other like a huge family. So, all right. So let's get started with this week. On November 13th, 1946, a single propeller airplane took off from Schenectady County Airport with a rather unique payload: 6 pounds of dry ice, and rather a unique mission. The pilot was a chemist named Vincent Schaefer, who'd been conducting experiments at the General Electric laboratory. Using a GE refrigerator and freezer showed to sub-zero temperatures. Schaefer created clouds using his breath as condensation and seeded those man-made clouds with dry ice. The dry ice catalyzed a chemical reaction that caused snow crystals to form in the freezer. A few minutes later, it's time to test this even further. So Schaefer rented an airplane once again, flew it into a huge cloud, and dumped the dry ice out of the freezer into the cloud. Eyewitnesses on the ground said it was almost like the cloud exploded. The subsequent snowfall was visible for up to 40 miles away. The GE monogram had a little fun with this breakthrough, though. They actually put a press release. Schaefer made it snow this afternoon over Pittsfield. Next week, he walks on water. The science of seeding clouds is a marvel of modern science, but the idea is as old as the prophet Elijah. If you have a Bible, let's go to 1 Kings 18. It's also in the bulletin, and most of the stuff will be up here also. We're in the last week of a series called Win the Day, written by Mark Batterson. So far, we've talked about 6 habits: flipping the script, kissing the wave, eating the frog, flying the kite, cutting the rope, and winding the clock. Now, it's number 7. It's time to seed the clouds. In 1 Kings 18, let's set the scene. It's not rained in Israel for 3.5 years. Despite times and desperate measures, that's when and where we see why the prophet Elijah climbs to the top of Mount Carmel and seeds the clouds. Sort of. Starting with verse 41, Elijah said to Ahab, "Go get something to eat and drink, for I hear a mighty rainstorm coming." So Ahab went off to eat and drink, but Elijah climbed to the top of Mount Carmel, bent down to the ground, and put his face between his knees. "Go and look toward the sea," he told his servant. And he went up and looked. "There's nothing there," he said. 7 times Elijah said, "Go back." The 7th time, the servant said, "I saw a little cloud about the size of a man's hand rising from the sea." So Elijah shouted, "Go and tell Ahab, hitch up your chariot and go down before the rain stops you." Meanwhile, the sky grew black with clouds. The wind rose, and a heavy rain started falling, and Ahab rode off. The power of the Lord came on Elijah, and tucking his cloak into his belt, he ran ahead of Ahab all the way to Jezreel. Now, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but this subplot is really gold. We're not sure what route Elijah ran, but it was no less than 17 miles. It may have been as many as 30 miles. And he beats Ahab's chariot. Now, the ironic part is I kind of hear the Chariots of Fire song going on. So apparently somebody missed a cue back there because it's supposed to be playing. But pay attention, Jonathan. It's not there. Oh, there it is. Okay, click next, John. So long before anybody ran a marathon in Athens, Elijah ran from Mount Carmel to Jezreel. That's impressive. So how do we seed the clouds? We'll make this as simple as 1, 2, 3. 1, you seed the clouds with prophetic imagination. 2, you seed the clouds with patient persistence. And 3, you seed the clouds with bold prayer. More than half a century ago, Dr. Alfred Thomasus was confronted with the most curious case of his 50-year career as a world-renowned otolaryngologist, whatever. We call those people ear, nose, and throat doctors, right? So what happened was an opera singer had lost his ability to hit certain notes, even though the notes were well within his vocal range. He'd been to other specialists, and all of them thought that was a vocal problem. So this doctor thought differently. Using a sonometer, he discovered that the opera singer was producing a 140 decibel sound waves at a meter's distance. To give you a perspective, that's louder than a military jet taking off a aircraft carrier. Long story short, the opera singer had been deafened by the sound of his own voice. He could no longer hit the notes because he could no longer hear those notes. The voice can only reproduce what the ear can hear. The French Academy of Medicine dubbed this as the tinnitus effect from that point forward. So here's the theory. All of us have problems, relational, emotional, and spiritual. And we think those problems are the problem. But honestly, many, if not most, are just the presentation problems. The root cause of our problem is hearing the problem. It's ears that have been deafened to the small voice of the Holy Spirit. How? One reason is the white noise of our culture. We're bombarded with news every minute of every hour of every day. We've got online advertisers using clickbait. We've got social media algorithms diagnosed to keep us in our echo chambers. It's hard for God to get a word in because we can't hear it. But I agree with Mark on this. I don't think this is our primary problem. Our primary problem is actually our self-talk. We're deafened by the sound of our own voice, like the opera singer. We talked about this in the first week, flipping the script. 60,000 thoughts fire across our brains every day. According to the Cleveland Clinic, 80% of those thoughts are negative. I said this 6 weeks ago. I'll say it again. Scripture is the script cure. It's the way we renew our minds, like we find in Romans 12. It's the way that we tell ourselves a better story. It's the way we turn up the volume on God's voice. I asked a question a few weeks ago, and it's worth asking again. What percentage of your thoughts, words, and actions are a regurgitation of the news media that you watch and the social media that you follow? The algorithm is trying to keep you in your echo chamber. The net result is an ear that can't hear the still small voice of the Holy Spirit. Now let me flip this around. What percentage of your thoughts are in words and actions are you getting from God's word? We've got to be grounded in God's word. When we open the Bible, God opens his mouth. The best way to turn up the volume on that small voice is daily reading. Now, let's compare this with verse 41. Elijah said to Ahab, "Go get something to eat and drink, for I hear a mighty rainstorm coming." Elijah hears something no one else is even listening for. He hears something that hasn't happened in more than 3 years. How? He has a prophetic ear. And that's where our prophetic imagination starts. I'll give you a definition. Prophetic imagination is seeing the invisible, hearing the inaudible, and believing the impossible. Walter Brueggemann says it this way: the task is reframing so we can re-experience the realities that are right in front of us from a different angle. How do we normally say that? I need another set of eyes to look at this. Sometimes it takes the form of supernatural gifts, like a word of wisdom
or a word of knowledge. Sometimes it takes the form of supernatural solutions, like a spiritual gift, such as discernment or healing. Either way, we call them God ideas. And I'd rather have one God idea than 1,000 good ideas. How do you get God ideas, though? It starts with a prophetic ear. An ear that's fine-tuned to the still small of the Holy Spirit. And that's exactly what happens in verse 41. It hasn't rained for 3.5 years. His forecast seems foolish at best. It seems like Elijah is out of touch of reality. Most of you have probably heard this adage. Okay? Those who don't hear the music think the... Really? Nobody? Okay. Those who don't hear the music think the dancer is mad. That's a good way to put it, isn't it? When you exercise prophetic imagination, it may seem like you're out of touch with reality, but it's because you're in touch with a reality beyond your 5 senses. Things you can taste or touch or see or smell or feel. The second thing, seed the clouds with patient persistence. In the 1st century BC, there was a drought similar to what Elijah experienced. It threatened to destroy a generation, the generation before Jesus. There was a man who had an Elijah anointing. The people asked him to pray for the rain, and he did something curious. He didn't climb Mount Carmel. He took his staff, drew a circle in the sand, and knelt inside the circle, and he prayed this prayer. Sovereign Lord, I swear before your great name that I will not leave this circle until you have mercy upon your children. That's a bold prayer. We'll talk about bold prayers in a second. According to history, Hani, the circle maker, was captivated by one phrase in the verse of Scripture. Psalm 126, verse 1. When the Lord brought back the captives to Zion, we were like men who dreamed. That phrase, we were like men who dreamed, provoked a question in Hani that he wrestled with his entire life. Is it possible for a person to dream continuously for 70 years? Studies have shown that we age. Shocker. The cognitive center of our gravity tends to shift from the right brain to the left brain as we get older. Now, this is an oversimplification of what's going on, but the left brain is the focus of logic, okay? The right brain is the focus of imagination. So neurological tendencies presents a problem. At some point, most of us stop living out of imagination, like our children do when they're younger, and we start living out of memory, because that's what we learn. We stop creating the future and start repeating what we've done in the past. We stop living by faith and start living by logic. That's when we stop living and start dying, though. Most people die long before the date that's on their death certificate. But it doesn't have to be that way. Without a vision, the writer of Proverbs said, the people perish. Vision is a preservative. If you have a vision, you're never past your prime. If you have a vision, you never age out. So, it's an expression of prophetic imagination. But for a prophetic imagination to work, you also have to have patient persistence. If you want to dream big, you have to think long. If you want to play the long game. One of two things happens over time. Either memory overtakes imagination, or imagination takes over memory. Imagination is the way we seed the clouds to the 3rd and 4th generation, though. And it takes patient persistence to do this. So let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, verse 44. I saw a cloud the size of a man's hand. That's not very big. Now, like I said a couple weeks ago, don't despise the day of small beginnings. If you do little things like they're big things, God will do big things like they're little things. Now, you have to attempt things that are beyond your ability, beyond your resources, beyond your education, beyond your experience. That's when and where God shows up and shows off. I'm not sure who said this, okay? But years ago, a pastor once said that do things that are twice your size. Now, I can actually see Billy Graham saying something like that, just strictly looking at his history. But I don't think it was him. So here's the other side of this. When you're faithful here, you don't always experience that blessing right then and right there. But God blesses you somehow, some way, and somewhere. It says that Elijah asked his servant to go back for rain 7 times. It's not an insignificant number in Scripture, though. Proverbs 24:16 says, though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. One way to study Scripture is by taking a word or a phrase and plugging it into a Bible search. If you take a little phrase, such as 7 times, it's amazing how many times it pops up. Most of us know that the number 7 is the number of perfection or completion. So it's used literally and figuratively throughout the entire Bible. Abraham bows to the ground 7 times in Genesis 33. The priests consecrate the altar by sprinkling it 7 times in Leviticus. The word of the Lord is like silver refined 7 times. We find that in Psalm 12. Jesus ups the ante and tells us to forgive not 7 times, but 70 times 7. But we're going to focus on 3 different incidents. The Israelites circled Jericho 7 times on the 7th day in Joshua 6. Naaman dips himself in the Jordan River 7 times in 2 Kings. And of course, Elijah prays for rain 7 times in 1 Kings. Now, have you guys watched Jurassic Park? Yes? Okay. So we all know Ian, right? He has this counterfactual theory that happens throughout the entire series of the movies. He asks the what-if questions. Okay, so I'm going to play Ian for a second. What if the Israelites had stopped circling on the 6th day on the 6th circle? What if Naaman stopped after 6 dips during his baptism? What if Elijah quit praying after his 6th attempt? What's the answer? You know the answer. They would have forfeited the miracle right before it happened. Seated in the clouds is about patient persistence. Consistency beats intensity. You keep on keeping on. Jesus said it this way: ask, seek, and knock. Those are present imperative verbs. In other words, keep asking, keep seeking, keep knocking. It's too soon to quit. It's too soon to give up. So the last thing, seed the clouds with bold prayer. You can seed the clouds a lot of ways, but nothing's more powerful than prayer. A bold prayer is a prayer that's beyond your ability, beyond your resources, and beyond your imagination. In other words, you can't do it. You're praying for something impossible, but a bold prayer is also a prayer that you've prayed 100 times. And God's not answered that prayer yet. But when you feel But when you feel released, you stop praying that prayer. I don't know what miracle you're waiting on, but it's too soon to quit. You can hear God counting down. You have to keep seating the clouds with faith, hope, and love. In 853 BC, a king named Jeroboam assumed the throne of Judah. He's the 5th king of the southern kingdom. It's 117 years after the death of David. And this is what 2 Kings 8:18 says. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord. He killed his brothers so he would get the throne. But that's not the end of the story. It says, nevertheless, for David's sake, the Lord was not willing to destroy Judah. That's powerful. David's long gone. 6 kings later, but God's not forgotten his promise to not forget his people. That's what happens when you see the clouds like David did. There is no expiration date on love. There's no expiration date on faith or on prayer. We're the beneficiaries of prayer that we know nothing about. We harvest fields that we didn't plant or start. We drink from wells that most of us didn't even drink, or didn't even dig. And we live in houses many of us didn't build. We think right here, right now. God is thinking nations and generations. We think that God does this for us and for us, and he's for us. It's never just for us. It's always about the 3rd and 4th generation. The title of this sermon wraps up the entire series in 3 words. Seed the clouds. Win the day. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, as we go on the way to your life, as we see our life coming before us and unknowing our direction that we're supposed to go, many times we kind of try to go about our way and it's the wrong way. One of the things that we all know as we grow older is we're responsible for our children and our children's children. But we emulate the love that you've shown to our ancestors, your children. We are your children, and our children will also be your children. We ask you to watch over us as we go forth and do your bidding in our community, in our homes, and in our families. It's in your name we pray. Amen. One of these days, I'm going to find
The section with all the benedictions in that hymnal. I can never seem to find it. Let's see. Yeah, watch. She'll find it by the time I say this. Let's actually go with Psalm 121, verse 7 and 8. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. The Lord will keep you going out and you're coming in from this time forth and forevermore.
Have a great week.